Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ober and Blackfire, finally making another video. Been out, been gone for a little while. Sorry about that. Just kind of caught up with a lot of things. And also, I just got really burnt out with Ice and Fire for a little bit because I had reread it so many times. And also, the TV series was just getting a little bit too crazy for me. But more on that a little bit later. Anyway, just responding to a little bit, a couple of your comments. Thank you for all the nice things that you guys have to say about me, and thank you for sharing, of course, everything, all the videos that I put up and that kind of stuff. It's really, I'm surprised a lot of people really reacted the way they did. Thank you. New things coming. I just created a Facebook, a Tumblr, and a Twitter account for this. I'll probably be writing a lot more than I'm making videos. So if you guys just want to come by, check out some theories that I think are cool, or talk about Ice and Fire, then I'm totally cool with that. I would actually, it probably would generate a lot more conversation online, where I could respond like instantly, rather than like having to make a video and go on about a theory for only so long, because videos are only interesting for so long. So yeah, if you guys really want to check that out, of course you can be sharing everything on there, calling me fucking asshole, or saying this is crackpot, or saying hey, this is actually pretty cool. So please just check it out. Anyway, so big news kind of coming for the series. Season 5 just wrapped. I kind of forget. With the way that they're making like A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons into like seasons 4 and 5, and like putting like two huge books into only 2 seasons when they gave book 3 2 seasons. That just seems a little weird to me. I mean, how are you really going to take like A Dance with Dragons? Admittedly, there's not much that happens in that book that is like, oh my god, like that is huge, like Red Wedding changing. But there's a lot of small details. I mean, with season 5, like when I found out that there was not going to be any Ariane or seemingly Quentin, it's like, why have a Dorne like saga at all? Like, and then they send Jaime and Bronn out there. I mean, the whole like giving Bronn more like personage and like more like character background, I think is awesome. Like, it was like kind of like cool to see him and Jaime have the like little dialogue. As opposed to the books, to where we only just see, like, we only know, like, the underhanded thing that Bronn's are doing through Cersei's point of view, and of course she's like, oh, Bronn is out to get me, and he probably is out to get her. I mean, he's a greedy asshole, and he's basically Lord Stokeworth now. But, he's just kind of a side character in the books compared to having a much, much bigger character in the show, which is really one of the only things I liked about this season. The whole Dorne plot, I think, was just really stupid. Like, they completely assassinated Ilaria's character. Like, she grieved for Oberyn like anyone did, but she was not like this homicidal, like, slash suicidal agent of Dorne that she was in the show. Like, I thought it was pretty crazy that they made her so malicious when she just really wasn't that kind of person, and the whole Dorne plot was actually much more political than it was for revenge at times. I mean, in the books, Arianne was basically just doing it because she wanted to ensure her place as the like new Lady of Dorne, because she thought that Quentyn was like usurping her. But anyway, I mean, that's the way they went with it in the TV show. I guess we just got to deal with it now. The Sand Snakes, too, they were just like, I mean, the Sand Snakes were actually, like, they were terrible writing, but they were really good TV, if that makes sense. I mean, not only were they very hot, and, like, pretty cool women, like, to have on the show, and, like, show kind of a different type of women than, like, Daenerys or Cersei, because they're all very strong women, but, like, Daenerys is, like, this, like, queen who is kind of regal, has, like, a lot of principles. Cersei is just kind of, like, mad woman, like, win by any means, like, mother bear, who is, like, psychotic. So the Sand Snakes kind of represent, like, these women who are fiery, Dornish, like, take men when they want to, have no rules kind of chicks, and that's pretty cool. But, like, the whole slapping scene in the cells was hilarious. Like, that's total like 13 shit. Like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie 13, but they basically do the same thing when they're like high on drugs. They just smack the crap out of each other. Um, when the showrunners add stuff like that, and even like, well, don't mean to be vulgar, but like the whole like bad pussy comment, like the infamous bad pussy comment now, it's just kind of like, what? How is that needed? Like, it kind of goes back to Tyrion's trial by combat when him and Jaime had like the whole smash the Beatles like thing, like smash, like. Really, like, that was 5 minutes of dialogue between Tyrion and Jaime. Not something that we get very often, and that the show could have covered so many things. Like, that was such a conversation that needed to be had between those two. And they went for, like, them talking about a special person smashing Beatles, and, like, it didn't really have any theme. It didn't have any moral to the story that showed their bond or why things happen or anything. I mean, it was basically just like shit happens. Like, that was like basically a whole story for just that kind of metaphor. But shit happens for sometimes no reason. That was season 4. Of course, I probably haven't talked to any. I haven't like said anything since season 4. That was season 4. I felt closing was like, okay, well that was a season. I mean, they got the Tywin death scene pretty good, I guess. I don't really understand why Varys had to go with Tyrion. Probably because they didn't like want to add another character in Illyrio. And also it seems like the whole Aegon storyline is just not happening in the show, which is, I mean, frankly fine by me. And they're only planning on having 7 seasons, so at this point I don't think they need to add anything else, because they're already probably going to skip over so much stuff by having to only do 7 seasons, which I think is so idiotic, but whatever. But anyway, going back more to, like, the closing for season 4, I felt put season 5, like, on a good pedestal. However, like, the things they changed in this was just so... it seems like they were changing things for no reason. Like, I had already went into the Dorne thing, but it's like, the whole Sansa storyline. Dude, okay, why are you going to have, like, the whole advent of Darth Sansa at the end of season 4, but then in season 5 you're going to, like, victimize her right again? Like, dude, I'm so... It's so... And I'm sorry for the Sansa fans that are out there who are, like... I feel the rage with you, man. Like Sansa's storyline is so pathetic, kind of, like, in the beginning, because she's so convoluted about romance and stories, and honestly, she's probably insane because of some of the stuff that George R.R. Martin has said about her not being a reliable narrator, and the way that she remembers the Hound kissing her in the whole Battle of Blackwater, but that never really happened. So it's like, what was up with that? Like, why would you think that the Hound kissed her, but that didn't happen? But anyway, like, why would you make her seem like she's coming out on top, and then like controlling Littlefinger at the end of season 4, but then in season 5 put her right back into being just a victim? I mean, really, she like unless you were gonna make that the point when Reek, like, finally came to his senses, and, like, that was the reason why he ended up saving Sansa, is because he didn't want to he didn't want to see her go through, like, being raped every day. Like, seeing her raped once was enough for him to come back. Then there was absolutely no need to show a rape scene of Sansa. Like if anything, I feel it would have been a stronger character arc for her to be like understanding that his goal is sex. And, like, him and that other psycho chick had this whole thing about keeping it interesting. Like, it'd be really awesome if Sansa had read that about him, and what had kept him interested. You know what I mean? Like, everyone thinks that she's, like, this really innocent little girl. It would have been really awesome to see her as this, like, woman now who is, like, seductive, using her beauty to gain power, which is what she learned from Cersei, ironically. So, I just felt like re-victimizing Sansa is something that I hope does not happen in the book, because D&D have kind of fucked over the season, and really kind of fucked over George R.R. Martin in a lot of ways, because they basically spoiled, like, some of the Winds of Winter, and I will definitely tell you when that spoiler alert comes when I choose to talk about it. the whole the D&D, like, we don't know. I honestly can't say that Sansa's storyline, it wasn't from the books. Like, there has been so many theories that the Vale is going to go head to Winterfell once Sansa shows who she is. However, we also have the Harry the Heir storyline that we need to cover with that, because she is supposed to be now, like, she's supposed to be engaged now to the heir of the Vale, if and when Sweet Robin dies. Which, I mean, let's face it, the kid's basically doomed in the hands of Littlefinger, and no one's really going to care, because they need a strong lord in the Vale, and Harry the Heir is, like, basically like this young strapping guy, and Sweet Robin is this, like, sickly mama's boy who just whines all the time. So that's kind of sad. But I just kind of hope that the Sansa in the books is way more strong and, like, showing how she's playing the game with Harry. I think if you guys saw the excerpts from Winds of Winter, there is an Elaine sample chapter that is on GeorgeRRMartin.com. It's a pretty interesting chapter to kind of look into it. You see that there's, like, a surge of knights coming to the Vale because they're, like, trying to have this new Order of the Falcon or whatever have you. And you see kind of like how they're marshaling power, and how Sansa knows, like, how to play off Littlefinger's, like, subtle hints now, rather than having to ask him, like, what's going to happen. She already knows. She can read it. So I think that's a good sign for Sansa fans. I honestly, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, honestly, I'll be honest. When it comes to the Stark sisters, I am a huge Arya fan, and I've never truly been interested in Sansa. But even I can say, like, enough is enough. Like, stop victimizing the girl. I understand that D&D and George R. R. Martin want to, like, turn the whole princess trope on its head. Like, she's the pretty princess who's supposed to be, like, this pinnacle of innocence and da-da-da, and, always believe in truth and love. But, it's like, you can only like, be down on the girl so much, man. Like, eventually you got to give her something, because otherwise it's just a lesson in torture, basically. Because I don't want to see Sansa basically tortured again and have to go through another Joffrey-like situation to where she just sits there and gets beaten, man. Anyway, going on more, that was the whole Sansa storyline for Season 5. And the reason I'm talking about Season 5 instead of any theory right now is just because Season 5 did have, like I said, stuff from the books, from the Winds of Winter. So we're talking about new content, which I think kind of supersedes everything else about other theories. So just letting you know, I'm going into the spoilers that happened this season, that pretty much we can confirm is part of the Winds of Winter. If you guys don't want to hear about it, then please go ahead and just stop watching now. I'm really committed to not trying to spoil anything for anyone if they don't want it, but, fair game, man. This is the internet. Okay, so basically there's two big things that happened this season that we can now infer happened in the book. One thing that D&D just confirmed, and that's, like, pretty much the most tragic thing, and that's the death of Shireen by being burned. There was a whole backlash from that when that happened. People felt like it just really wasn't needed. And then D&D responded by basically saying, hey, we didn't think of this, George. We got this from George. This is actually going to happen from the book. Basically, after that, it's like George has kind of had to admit it, and then try to, like, divert as much as he could, saying that maybe it could happen in a different way, at a different time. Stannis doesn't necessarily have to be the one to be okay with it. But, I mean, it's hugely foreshadowed in the books. I mean, by the way everyone talks about Stannis, about that he is gonna break before he bends. Like, he is the brittle iron. He is, like, the true iron of all the Baratheon brothers. Like, he is so rigid that we just know, like, he can only handle so much. And, I mean, think of everything that Stannis has gone through. He went from having no army to having to kill his little brother to get an army. When he finally got that army, even then he didn't win. And really none of the realm truly loves him enough to really want to support him, because he's just such a stern guy who believes in justice. And justice, I mean, be honest, like, who really wants a truly just guy judging everyone and having the power to, like, punish people? Like, that's Yes, I know there's Stannis supporters. Yes, Stan the man. Trust me. I get it. I'm not like a big Stannis fan, but I get it. Like he's a cool paragon of justice, but at the same point in time, like he's not going to survive the series untouched. Like basically, I'm pretty sure that he's going to become the fire version of the Night's King. Basically, him and Melisandre are already very close. They've already had a sexual relationship. Many people know that she's the real queen or the real woman behind the power of Stannis, and really would be like his advisor, his main advisor, if he did win the throne. So that being said, he's already kind of checked off the being enslaved to a mystical kind of woman. Basically a fire version of another, from all we know, because from Melisandre's chapter, we do know that she is not fully human, basically. I mean, I don't know what she is, really. I mean, like I said, all I can really say is like she's a fire version of another, because obviously she is sentient. She has all of her, senses, except hunger, or taste, maybe, and that kind of stuff. But, we don't know. We also don't know if she can restore people like Thoros does. I mean, by like the law of power and the way that magic seems to work in Westeros, it seems that what one red priest could do, another red priest could do, or in this case, a red priestess. Melisandre also seems much older and more powerful than Thoros, so it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, we've already seen her power in the way that she had a shadow baby kill Renly and the Knight of Storm's End. So yeah. So Shireen, we know for sure that Shireen is going to die. So So I think that basically means that we can confirm that Stannis is at one point in time going to need that sacrifice. Does that mean he loses the Battle of Winterfell? I don't know. I think what more could happen is that Stannis will win the Battle of Winterfell. But when a Stark is found, like when Rickon comes in the picture, or when Jon Snow is like finally legitimized, the North are going to like flock to either one of them and pretty much forget Stannis. I think Stannis is going to really be pissed off at this and be just so astounded that he can basically save the North or get rid of the Boltons and the Freys for the North. But then when a Stark shows up, the love for the Starks is basically undying, and that the people will still choose a Stark over him. I think this will basically, destroy any kind of will or sanity that he has left, and basically just make him turn all over to the power of Melisandre. Basically, keeping his he's been trying to keep a part of his humanity. I don't think he's going to be keeping any of that part through the Winds of Winter, especially because they're going to burn Shireen. Like, that's something that we know. Also, from the episode of Hardhome, which I think is honestly the coolest episode of the whole season, probably of the last 2 seasons. And I'm a huge Oberyn fan, obviously. And I love the way that they did the duel scene between Oberyn and the Mountain. However, the Hardhome episode was just so awesome. It gave us so much insight to Jon Snow, to Dragonsteel being actually Valyrian steel. We can now confirm that. So, I don't want to hear anybody talking about any theories of, well, we don't know if Dragonsteel could be like Dragonbone infused with Valyrian steel or magical, No, Dragonsteel is Valyrian steel, okay? I mean, trust me, like, there'd be no reason for there to be a third substance, like Dragonbone, Valyrian steel, and then Dragonsteel. There just wouldn't be. I mean, unless it's Lightbringer. Okay, I'm saying that Lightbringer might be a unique sword made of unique stuff. I don't know, but Dragonsteel, I feel in this case, is definitely referring to Valyrian steel. I know it's a total nerd rage, and it's like, man, this guy's a dork. But hey, let's be exact in our fake history, guys. Anyway, so yeah, the whole Hardhome episode, and okay, we do have the confirmation that the leader, perceived leader of the others, is the Night's King. That is what they're calling him in the show. George R. R. Martin, when asked about this, when they're talking about, hey, well, is there a Night's King? Like, and is he going to show up in the theories? And he said, well, he'll show up in the theories as much as Lan the Clever or Brandon the Builder will show up in the series. It's like, okay, well, take from that what you will. I mean, unless you believe that Brandon the Builder and Lan the Clever are all those people from the Age of Dawn or Heroes, whatever, are going to come back into the series, then that basically is him saying no, the Night King is not going to be part of the series. However, he did say that it wasn't the Night King, it was the Night's King. The reason why that is a little bit different is because the Night's King, the Night King, it means like singular, like that there is only one Night King. He was the one that reigned forever. But the Night's King means that it could possibly be a title given to many people. Like, the Night's King could be one person from one age and then another person or thing from another age. And that kind of stuff. So, basically, but however, he did kind of confirm some stuff about the others, and you can infer from that, from looking about everything he said from the others, from, like, the beginning of the series to now, is that there is obviously a leadership to the others. There are some, like, there's the Whites, and then there are the White Walkers. Then there are the others that we have been hearing about, but we haven't maybe necessarily seen. It kind of seems like it's like this, like, powerful mist, like this almost essence, like this, like, raw element that is, like, the true power behind the Long Night, or the others in general, and that kind of stuff. I think there is, like, a singular entity, like a person that could kind of represent the Night's King, that is where it's coming from. Because, I mean, with the whole R'hllor thing, I think there is a definitely, like, patron of fire that maybe all fire magic kind of stems from, like a fire engine. That's kind of funny, sorry. But like truly like an engine of fire, like a battery for fire. Like when the dragons came back into the world, obviously magic was restored. So maybe like the battery for fire is like dragons having to exist, and that is, the dragons are kind of the essence of R'hllor, his true instruments, and that's why having to balance. When the dragons come back, then this great other comes back, or a group of great others, and that's what balances the powers of ice and fire. To me, there's been a lot of hints that what the others actually are is like an ice version of what Valeria was, and they had met the ice version of the doom which Valeria went through, and I think that's very, very true, because of the fact that, like, you look at the lands of always winter, and then its polar opposite would be the lands of the long summer, which is where Valeria was. So now you have these two societies that focused on elements, and they fell. And now Valeria, I mean, of course, in Valeria you hear that that there's demons and the whole area is kind of infested with just this doom and everything. Well, doesn't that sound like the lands of always winter? Like, basically it's a very frigid place where it's thinly populated and all that kind of stuff. So I just think that it shows that the others are literally an ice version of what happened to Valeria. So there is going to be like a singular entity or entities, maybe like a smaller group of entities that like have the power, and once they're defeated, then all magic will have to go out of the world or something. I mean, who knows, really. But we do know that there is, like, that the others do have a rank and file type of army. Like, there is, like, the Whites, which is basically the foot soldiers, the White Walkers, which take care of the Whites, and then the others, which seem to animate all. We don't know who they are. Maybe even, I don't know if you want to put ice dragons into the equation, which if you had read the World Book, then yeah, then there's confirmation basically that there are ice dragons. Whether or not we're going to see them in the book, who knows? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, bro. But anyway, so yeah, that's just a kind of a quick cover. Going over the last 2 episodes, which are always like supposed to be the penultimate episodes of the season. I felt they were very, very anticlimactic, man. Like, of course, we know that the whole For the Watch thing was coming with Jon. It had kind of been set up the whole like pretty much basically when he made the decision to go to Hardhome. Ever since then, we knew it was coming because people were just pissed. The way they did that, I feel, having Ollie do it, I feel was just kind of comedic, because they're really making Ollie into this asshole. I mean, they're like a character assassinating a lot of people. Like, first Delaria, now Ollie, which in the book is actually very committed to Jon, and is pretty smart. Now he's like this like criminal mastermind, basically, who for some reason has dibs on the last stab for the Lord Commander, which, I mean, I don't know if that means that he's the one that planned all of it or what. That part seemed comedic, but I feel like the way they did it in total was pretty cool. That kind of wrapped up John's storyline. I kind of wish that they would have given us something more, especially because they obviously didn't care about spoiling some stuff from the books. Whether or not, I mean, I think it might be safe to assume that Stannis is dead because they gave him a beautiful death poster. They didn't give Jon a beautiful death poster, and it's very much theorized that Jon will come back. So, you know, like maybe that was it. Maybe we know now that Stannis is going to die. In the books, in the next book, but even then, like, I feel like they could have at least given us just give us the confirmation about Jon Snow's parentage, man. We all know it. If you do it in the show, it's going to be okay because it's probably still going to be different in the book, and we're going to want to find out what happens in the book still. But pretty much, I feel like a lot of the fan population know about R plus L equals J, so. It's like, you know, just go ahead and like give us a confirmation, and it would have. I feel like it would have really given like this season meaning, like a true shocker, like, oh, holy crap, they finally confirmed it. We can finally like talk about it. But otherwise, they just kind of stick to they finally chose like this part to stick to the book, which okay, cool. I mean, it was basically pretty boring. Same with pretty much everything else. I mean, with Daenerys, I feel like they basically ruined her last scene of Book 5 because she had a really, like, self-awakening chapter. Like, that was actually one of my favorite Daenerys chapters from basically the whole book because she finally was coming back into, like, what being a Targaryen really is. Like, she is the blood of Aegon, like, she is a dragon. Like, she's not supposed to be, like, this goody-goody queen that is, like, worrying about the underdog so much and that kind of stuff. She's supposed to make stuff happen. She's supposed to, like, take what is hers with fire and blood. Don't mean to be cheesy on that, but it's really the best way to explain what she's what she's thinking about. You know, she remembers her house words, which are fire and blood, and, you know, dragons don't plant trees, kind of thing. I think that says a lot if you read into it. I mean, if you're not deep enough to like take that comparison or whatever, then I'm sorry, but it says a lot. And then also she is found by the Khalasar like pretty much feasting with her dragon, and like Drogon being like this like black and red like badass right by her, all bloody and that kind of stuff. And in the show, they kind of just made her, like, they diminished her into this like really like scared fawn, like in the forest, like 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 all these horses, they're so pretty, you know, and they like, you know, I mean, it's just like, dude, like, she's supposed to be like the last scion of House Targaryen, and instead you made her into like this like pretty princess with the horses. And I mean, yeah, it was a cool shot when they like faded away and showed like the whole Khalasar and that kind of stuff, but that scene was supposed to have a lot of power for Dany and showing how like she has the dragon and her mount. I mean, in a world where people are really like concerned with mounted warriors, I'm pretty sure if everyone else is mounted on a horse and you're mounted on a dragon, that says something. Like, especially when they're concerned about power, that should really show like power. Like that is Dany's power. So I don't really, overall, like, I would give this season, in terms of stars, really, like, I'm really tempted to say 2.5, but definitely 3. I feel like if I say 2.5, that's being a little bit too mean, because the production value, as always, for Game of Thrones has been awesome. However, just this whole season was just really, like, anticlimactic. When they went off the beaten path from the books, it was seemingly for no reason. I mean, basically, they reduced Doran to being, like, this pussy. When Doran, in the books, was supposed to be, like, this mastermind, you know, there was no fire and blood conversation between him and the Sand Snakes or Ilaria that we know of. And, like, killing... I mean, let's be honest. When Myrcella was poisoned, it was, like, that was literally probably the stupidest thing for them to do. You can see the boat. The boat is only about 200 yards off from shore. If Myrcella gets poisoned, of course they're gonna fucking turn around. I mean, she's like the heir to the throne, man. Like, they're gonna turn around and they're gonna know. I mean, and Ilaria with that super obvious kiss, man. It's like, I don't know. I really don't understand what they did with the whole Dorn thing, and it was just so ridiculous that when they pretty much cut the whole Greyjoy thing, I feel like they should have just cut the whole Dorn thing too. I know that they had to deal with Marcella, but they could have had the Sand Snakes come to King's Landing like they did in the books and maybe explore that. Um, but with Jamie and Braun, it was basically watching a sitcom unfold because of the obvious things that they were going to do. So that's really, really the reason I want to give it a 2.5, which would basically be an F. But I'm going to give it a 3, which is a 3 out of 5. It's 60%. It's a D. I mean, maybe even like a C if I'm going to grade it, because the production value on this is always just so good. It's just so good. But when it comes to the story, I just feel like the show really just jacked it up. The only reason, and like once again, I want to reiterate, the only reason I want to talk about the show as my first video coming back is because it did explore some new content. So I wanted to make sure that we covered that new content together. But anyway, you guys, this is Oberyn Blackfire. This has been another episode of Hour of the Wolf. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for sticking around with me for Season 5 and talking about it. Once again, I have my Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook for the Hour of the Wolf, but it's under my name, Oberyn Blackfire. If you guys would please go ahead and give all 3 of those a follow, and I'll be writing much more than I'll be doing videos. So if you guys want to interact or ask about a certain theory, then I would definitely be able to respond to you quicker on there. Also, next episode, we're going to be covering the dragons, everything we know about dragons theories, and also, I believe, Jon Snow coming back theories. They did say in the show that Kit Harington also said that he was not coming back. D&D said that Jon Snow was for sure dead. We're going to kind of talk about why that's probably not true. So please stick around for that, and see you guys later.